I am trying to stay focused because over the past 3-4 weeks, there's been so many distractions. And this morning, it seems like the distractions were just multiplied. And I understand why that is. I understand how the devil works when God is trying to move. And so I want to take a few minutes so I could purge, so that I could purge. Can we just do a little bit more of that? Hallelujah. In Numbers 14, you'll find these words. That night, all the members of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron. And the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt or in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Let me back up to verse 30 in the 13th verse. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. I want to talk prayerfully this morning from this subject. The tragedy in Kadesh, Barnea. The tragedy in Kadesh, Barnea. Let's fix this before we go further. Is it one of these mics? What is it? The tragedy in Kadesh, Barnea. Normally when we think of the word, we hear the term tragedy, it's never a good thing. Tragedy, by its very definition and connotation, means something bad has happened or is about to happen. Tragedies are never good. The thing is, it's how you handle and how you deal with the tragedies that makes the difference. Don't be naive and think that if you can go through life and never have to deal with tragedies, because all of us will have to deal with more than a minuscule of tragedies in life. But it's not the tragedies that cause us to fail, it's how we deal with the tragedies that cause us to fail. All of us are going to have some setbacks in life. It's how you deal with the setbacks that makes the difference on whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to get over, or whether you're going to allow the setbacks to take you out. It's how you deal with the tragedies of life that are going to make the difference. The book of Numbers. Can I just teach for a few minutes? We'll do boots on the ground a little bit later. Y'all just hold on. The book of Numbers captures the story of a people called to be holy, yet they were prone to rebellion. Y'all gonna need to talk back to me this morning. A nation delivered, yet resistant to faith. The historical backdrop of Numbers unfolds in the wilderness where Israel stood at the intersection of promise and uncertainty. They had experienced the glory of God's deliverance, witnessed his power at Mount Sinai, and received his covenant, but this was not yet the promised land. Numbers is a profound reminder of the Israelites' collective identity as God's chosen people. This is not just a story of migration, but it's a story of transformation. Yet, as we journey through the book of Numbers, we see the immense burden Moses carried. He wasn't just leading a nation, but he was navigating their doubts, their fears, their rebellion, their insults, their stubbornness, and their constant complaints. He stood between a holy God and a sinful people, interceding where they deserve judgment and pleading for mercy when they faltered. That was Moses. Numbers was pivotal in the shaping of Israel's identity. But it also cemented Moses' legacy as a leader who pointed always to God's faithfulness, even as his heart broke over the stubbornness of his people that he was assigned to lead. Don't you sit there and think that everybody in the church Moses' life and leadership teach us that even in the wilderness, your God, my God, our God is at work, shaping and refining and leading us towards his promise. From Sinai to the edges of Canaan, this book reminds us that the wilderness is not the end of the story, but it's the necessary path to fulfillment as we move forward. But also, in the wilderness, about 31 miles east of the Mediterranean, and about 33 miles southwest of Beersheba, is a place located on the southern border between Israel and Egypt, a place called Kadesh, Barnea. Yeah. Kadesh Barnea was the original place where God intended the Israelites to enter into the promised land. Come a little closer. It was from here that Moses commissioned 12 spies to investigate Canaan. Kadesh Barnea was also the site of one of the most tragic events in Israel's history. It's there that the Israelites, hear me now, rebelled against God's will for them. It was the place where 10 spies were overcome with fear. The place where fear turned excitement into despair. This was more than a moment of doubt, but it was an outright rebellion. Somebody say, tell the truth, Pastor. I know how Moses felt trying to lead a rebellious people into a place that was better for them. That's why I had to purge. That's why I had to purge. And as a result of their rebellion, Israel was severely judged for their lack of faith. And they were condemned to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. You know I'm a numbers person. It was 1 day and 1 year for each 1 day. Let me help you. They had to wander 1 year for each day that the spies spent in Canaan. The spies spent 40 days in Canaan, looking at the place that God had promised them. Looking at the fruit in the place that God had promised them. 12 people spent 40 years observing what God had already given. Y'all didn't hear what I'm saying. And let me give you some other stuff. Everyone 20 years and older at this point died in the wilderness. Never made it to the promised land. The book of Numbers is called Numbers because of a census. That's why it's called Numbers. Y'all didn't hear what I said, though. Everyone 20 years older, except for 2 people, I'm not sure how old they were, but everyone 20 years old, except for 2 people, died in the wilderness. Help me, Holy Ghost. In spite of the fact that God had been the benefactor and the Israelites had been the beneficiaries of a whole bunch of great miracles, they'd been bathed in miracles almost a year from the time they left Egypt until the time they reached Kadesh Barnea. In approximately 1 year, they were eyewitnesses to enough of God's miracles to coagulate their trust and faith in God. let me translate that. They had seen enough of what God can do, enough of what God had done to solidify their belief that if God can do it, can I enumerate them for you? They witnessed God empty 10 supernatural plagues on the Egyptians. They witnessed the inaugural Passover, watching as God protected their families by passing over every home that was marked with lamb's blood. They saw God change and soften the hearts of the Egyptians so that they gave them stuff when they got ready to leave. They experienced supernatural, miraculous guidance and protection from God, which allowed them to cross the Sinai Peninsula swiftly, safely, as if they were carried on eagle's wings, until they reached the aqua finger of the Red Sea. That was a teach, Pastor. They beheld a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night to guide and protect them. They walked 10.5 miles at 2,500 feet below sea level to cross the Red Sea. They saw God supernatural provide water out of a rock in Rephidim. God helped the Israelites defeat the Amalekites as Aaron and Hur held up Moses' arms. They stood in fear and trembling as God sent fire. I didn't say fire, I said fire. And smoke upon Mount Sinai when he gave them the 10 Commandments, written on a stone with his finger. They received supernatural provisions of manna and quail when they were in the desert. However, despite all the miracles they had witnessed God perform, when it came time for them to trust in God, their fear blinded them from God's faithfulness. They saw all of that. Now it's time for them to trust God. You done saw God do everything. Now it's time for you to trust God. We mumble and grumble because we're scared. They viewed God as too weak to help them enter the promised land. And as a consequence, they rebelled against God and subjected themselves to God's judgment. Whew. I'm trying to take my time because this is an important Sunday. The reality of the judgment of God is sobering. Hear what I'm about to tell you. God forgave the Israelites but he did not remove the consequences of their rebellious disobedience. There are consequences for your rebellious disobedience. You can dress it up any way you want to. You can paint it. You can buff it. You can shine it. You can spray some perfume on it. But rebellious disobedience is rebellious disobedience. The emperor don't have no clothes on. Please don't miss this fact now. Let me mess some of y'all up. They rebelled against God's will for them. Now you tell me if that ain't some fraganacle bull. You know, it's Sunday, so, you know, Sister God, I got to say fraganacle. I want to say that again because I want you to get this. They rebelled against God's will, Marcia, for them. See why I had to purge? And as a consequence of their rebellion, they were sentenced to wander in the Sinai wilderness for 40 years. And all the Israelites who spoke of going back to Egypt died in the wilderness and never entered the promised land. Do me a favor. Hunt your neighbor and say, he may be talking about you right now. Y'all come on a little closer. I'm a numbers person. Here's what I'm about to tell you. Let me kick some free game, give you some numbers. There were approximately 1 million Israelites 20 years old and above who died over a 40-year period. Say, tell us some more, preacher. That means there were 30,000 funerals per year. See why I say it was tragic? 82 funerals a day. I'm giving you averages. 7 funerals an hour. And all of these funerals, all of these deaths were the result of their tragic rebellion in Kadesh, Barnea. You hear me, Kamani? And this, God told me to tell you that we are in Kadesh, Barnea right now. Let me help you. God has emancipated us from our own faithless captivity. He has shown us the promised land. He has been faithful to us, even though we have been faithless to him. And now here we stand between Egypt and our own promised land. What you gonna do? The only thing, I like how God works things out. The only thing that will keep you, or us, from entering the promised land is us. I told you last week, I don't know how to tell you the truth without telling you the truth. God, that's what I love about God. He kept his promise to us. Even though some of us have willfully and intentionally broken our promise to him. I ain't talking about no accident. I'm talking about where you decided I ain't gonna do it. I don't care what he say. Ain't gonna do it. Let me parenthetically tell you something. A few years ago, my wife and I went to Las Vegas. Brother Bailey, I said went to Las Vegas. Now, Kathy booked a 90-minute presentation for a timeshare, Brother Bailey, in Las Vegas. Now, I'm mad, B, because I could have done something else with that 90 minutes, Sister Gardner. But there was one thing that captured my attention, Brother Gardner. When the VP came out, after they had done their little dog and pony show, when he came out, he said something that I had never heard before, and I've been to a few timeshare presentations. Because, you know, you get the, the free room, so, that's how they get you. Go give you something free, Betty Bailey. Just come and spend 90 minutes with us. Right. But here's what he said. He said, let me tell you something. I know most of y'all in here done already decided that you ain't gonna buy nothing. Before you left the house, Dana, before you got on the plane, before you checked into the hotel, you had already decided, I ain't gonna do it. I said to myself, Terrell, you're right. Because I was one of them people had decided I ain't gonna buy nothing. I don't care. That's one word. I don't care what he say. Some of you Israelites sitting in here right now decided before you left home this morning, I don't care what he say, I ain't gonna do it. Some of y'all decided God can come down right now, sit next to me in the seat, tell me to do it, and I ain't going to do it. God has kept his word, done his part, and has sustained you for 25 years. I'm talking to you right now. Even though we grumbled, complained, rebelled, were disobedient, and didn't remain faithful, God still provided for you. So now, we are confronted with three questions. Somebody said, "What's the question, preacher?" I'm glad you asked. Do you want to go back to Egypt? Let me try. Everybody want to go back to Egypt, stand up. Let me cross that one off. Do you want to wander another 25 years in the wilderness? Stand up. Here's the imperative question. Are you willing and are you going to do what it takes to enter the promised land? Those are three questions. Those are three questions. Those are three questions. Stand up if you're ready, if you're willing to do what it takes to go into the promised land. You may be seated because we ain't done. Let me tell you about those three questions. First one was Egypt. Egypt represents your past. You have to turn around, Brenda, to go back to Egypt. Every accomplishment, every advancement, every achievement that you've made is revisited for no legitimate reason. If you return to Egypt, you'll be told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You have no control of your own destiny, and your life is not your own. You have no choice about anything that pertains to you. You are essentially a slave, consumed and controlled by a slave mentality. You can't think for yourself. You can't decide for yourself. And you have given up all control to the enemy. That's why the enemy done told some of y'all, don't do it. Don't help them. Let them figure it out. I'm preaching truth this morning. That's why the enemy done told y'all that. Because, see, God ain't told you that. We ain't going to lie on God this morning. God ain't told none of y'all that. If we're going to be a family, we're going to be a family. That means everybody got to help. Then, that's this wilderness thing. In the wilderness, you wander around, aimlessly living from day to day with no real destination, no vision for your life, no goals to pursue, and no promise for tomorrow. In 10 years, you'll be in the exact same place you are today. Sadly, you will die without ever tasting the fruit of God's promise. You'll never know what it's like to celebrate the fulfillment of God's promise for your life because your destiny has been forfeited by your rebellion. The wilderness was not a place for testing, but it was a place for transformation. The wilderness is supposed to change you. It's a place of transformation for where God has prepared for his people for the promises ahead. The wilderness is a proving ground. You want to know who's going to be with you? Watch how they do in the wilderness. Everybody can be with you when you ask them to do nothing. When you paying all the bills. When you washing the car. When you put gas in the car. When you paying the rent. When you buying the clothes. When you paying the mortgage. Oh, everybody. Oh, they love you then. Snuggle up with you at night. Fix you breakfast in the morning. Walk you to the door. Kiss you goodbye. Because you ain't asked nothing. The wilderness. Reggie, the wilderness is a place where we're caught between the security of Egypt's chains and the freedom of God's promises. Each step forward demands trust in a God you can't see and a future you can barely imagine. Wilderness. The wilderness was not a mistake or a detour, but it was a crucible in which a nation of slaves was being shaped into a holy people, refined. Right. The wilderness is a pivotal place in every person's life. Let me tell you something. Your entire future is based on how you deal with this wilderness. Egypt, the wilderness. And now, there's a place called Canaan. Somebody say finally. Also known as the Promised Land. A place pregnant with the promises of God. The place that God himself has prepared for you. A place where you and God have complete control of your own destiny. An inspiring vision of purpose and possibility. Canaan, in the biblical narrative, is more than a destination. It is the very embodiment of fulfilled promise, divine abundance, and destiny realized. It is the place where hopes, long carried through arid deserts and uncertain nights, finally blossom into reality. Canaan is the canvas upon which God paints the masterpiece of a life lived to its fullest, where each soul is invited to step into the fullness of their calling. Step into their purpose. Step into their design by God for their life. Canaan. Canaan is a land of promise. Imagine a land described as flowing with milk and honey. Poetic vision of prosperity, beauty, overflowing with provision. To reach Canaan is to transcend ordinary, to break free from the shackles of yesterday and the stagnation of complacency. You can't get to Canaan by doing the same thing your butt been doing for 25 years. It is the call to dare greatly, to believe that there is more to life than just barely surviving. Canaan is a place of divine partnership. In Canaan, you are not a wanderer or a captive. That's some good news. But you are a partner with the divine God. It's you and God. Together, you co-author your destiny. The possibilities are boundless as the stars Abraham once counted, each representing a promise, a purpose, a dream waiting to be claimed. Canaan is the arena where faith is rewarded, where courage meets opportunity, and where trust in God's guidance is met with tangible victory. I'm talking about Canaan. But to reach Canaan, you got to be willing to go beyond comfort into destiny. Canaan demands that you rise above fear, stretch beyond comfort, and forsake the easy path. Canaan. The journey requires tenacity. The journey requires resilience. The journey requires unwavering faith and the ability to hear and receive the truth. Yet, for those willing to go above and beyond, Canaan unfolds as a land where every step forward is met with new horizons, is met with greater blessings. It's not simply a reward at the end of the struggle, but it is the fulfillment that transformed the journey itself. Somebody say Canaan. The story of Canaan is an ancient invitation, echoing through the ages. Will you be content in Egypt? Will you like the old chains of Egypt? Will you like the uncertainty of the wilderness? Or will you press forward, undaunted, unexpected, toward the promise that God has prepared for you? Canaan is just not for the heroes of Scripture. It is the inheritance of all who dare to believe, of all who are willing to do what it takes to reach the promised land. My question to you this morning, are you ready? Are you ready to go into the promised land? Are you ready to do what it takes to get what God has promised? Are you ready from the wilderness to the promise? Are you ready? Let the vision of Canaan ignite your spirit. Let it call you to rise, to strive, to dream, and to trust. For in the pursuit of your promised land, you discover not only the abundance of the destination, but the transformation of the journey. And the joy of walking hand in hand with the God who leads you there. And I'm done. You cannot live in Egypt. Have God set you free? Take you to the wilderness. Provide manna and quail. Part the Red. Get water out of a rock. Give you manna and quail to eat. You cannot, brothers and sisters, you can't do all of that and be standing on the steps of the promised land and won't do what it takes to go in. Y'all gonna have to pardon me. I'm about to say something that some of y'all gonna say, I can't believe he said that. But he about to say it. Why the help? I was gonna say something else, Chase, but I'm just, why the help would you go through everything that you done been through for God to bring you right to the shore? Not you can't go in, that you won't go in. Why would you do that? Tell me why you would do something like that. Why you would go through all of that. God done brought you right to the steps of the promised land. And you won't do what it takes to go in. Do you receive that this morning? I can't tell you the truth without telling you the truth. Because that question just plagues me.